It's safe to say that I might have done my fair share when it comes to bashing the objectives in the last few FIFAs and FC games. But this year, with an abundance of new settings tacked on and some changes to the objectives, I want to find out if you can actually use the objectives on this year's game. Will they be fun? Will I absolutely hate it? And are they as awful as they've been in the past? Because with us now having the ability to choose how strict we want the board to be, and even a new option being added recently, which allows us just to be judged on our success on the pitch, I actually think that objectives might be viable this year. But we all know, if you're a YouTuber or you're someone who's been playing this game series on career mode for a long time, ain't nobody using the objectives this year now they have the ability to turn off sacking. I near enough guarantee that. But let's get into the game. Let's see what we can do with these objectives. Let's kind of see what objectives we're going to get. Let's see how harshly we're judged on the objectives. And let's try and make a whole video without me being sacked. Now, obviously for us and for everybody, every career mode now starts on this screen. And this is the objective I was talking about a minute ago. This is a new one. This is something new that they've added into the game. And if you turn off club growth objectives, you know all those terrible ones that are like, make these financial gains, sign players from a certain place, blah, 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 blah. You're not going to be judged on them anymore. There is one issue with this. Now, the big issue with this change is the fact that now we're going to be judged on how we perform domestically and continentally. But one of the biggest problems that was in this game and has been in this game for years is when you're playing at League 2, League 1, Championship, who knows, wherever the hell you are, but their expectation for you to get to a certain point in the cup is just ridiculous. And I've had so many comments and so many conversations with people over the past years who have been sacked. They've genuinely been sacked for not making it that far in the cup, even though they're like sat top of the table and stuff. So I'm hoping we're going to find as we go through this that that's not a problem anymore, but I have a sneaky suspicion it probably still is. But nonetheless, for this first setup, I'm definitely turning that off. But when it comes to board expectation, because I'm setting this up how I would do it, if I'm going to play with objectives and have a fun, long-term career mode in which I enjoy and I don't hate myself, I'm not going to be harsh. I'm not going to be strict. Would I be lenient? No, I would probably be strict because I'm guessing strict is just normal, right? You have no sacking, lenient, strict, and harsh. So I'm going to stick... Strict sounds so bad, though. Why word it as strict? Lenient, strict, and harsh? I don't know. Like, is strict worse than harsh? Look, we're going to go with strict for this career mode, and we're going to see how it feels turning those club growth objectives off and going strict. Let's see what objectives we get. Also, if you do like these kind of videos and you're enjoying the content, I have tons of these up on the channel and tons of them are going to keep going out throughout the life cycle of FC25. We also have a Tottenham career mode series that's going on right now. It's super interactive and super fun. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out the rest of the content. Now, here we are in the career mode, and this is how much I know about it this year. I don't actually know where they keep the objectives. I'm just going to guess they're in the office. Yeah, there they are. So let's see what objectives we're going to get here. Oh, that's frustrating. So if you choose that option, you're only going to get the domestic success ones. And we still see reach the round of 16. I want to test here. We've chosen Leeds. I want to test here if I'm top of the league and look like I'm going to win the league title, but we don't make it to the round of 16 of the FA Cup. Am I going to get sacked? So let's fast forward. This is going to take a lifetime as well, by the way, lads. Like, the simulation on this year's game is terrible. But I'm going to fast forward, and I'm going to see if we can keep our job with these objectives that we have right here.
Many unbearable hours later.
Right, so here we are in January. We have our first FA Cup game. I think one of the important things here, though, is where are we in the league? Okay, I've worked some magic here at Leeds United. I hope this happens in real life. But we are top of the league by 2 points. It's close. It's super tight. It would be helpful if we could be successful in one aspect of this and then maybe not the other. I'm going to quick sim this one with the worst squad I can possibly use. So hopefully we lose it, and then let's see what the board's reaction is. You'll see in the top right above me now, the board are actually pretty happy with me. They like me. But this game against Stevenage should change that wildly, unless we're not going to be as strictly judged now. Now, this is the team I've come up with for the sim. We're going to play Dan James at centre-back, Pirro in the centre of the park, one of the centre-backs at right mid. Look, I've made enough of a mess of this, right? Surely that we lose the quick sim. Maybe I should have bumped it up from world class. We do. We lose it. That's all we wanted to do. So we've lost a quick sim, 3-2. Not a problem. We're not good in the cups anyway, Leeds. Now, interestingly, after that, we are fine. I mean, it hasn't ticked off to say that we've been knocked out. Let's advance forward a bit. Okay, so it took a minute for it to sink in with the board. Maybe they don't have any TVs in the office. Maybe they just couldn't see the game. But eventually, when it has sunk in, we're at 64 manager popularity. Now, normally, this would be enough to keep our job. It would kind of be around the 49, 50. Below that, where you would actually be at risk. So let's go ahead now and sim the rest of this season and see if even though we fail in that cup, if we go and win the league, fingers crossed, the board a lot more easier to work with this time round. So here we are then at the end of the season and the board are very unhappy with me, which is absolutely insane, boys, because look at this. I mean, we haven't been sacked yet, but we've won the league with 101 points. And look, I don't know how I've managed this. In rebuilds I've done, my simulation has been pretty horrendous. But Leeds United, top of the table, 30 wins, 11 draws, 5 defeats, 101 points. All we did was just get knocked out of the FA Cup. Like, who gives a flying, you know? But, and what I'm going to stress here is I'm going to advance forward to see if we do actually get sacked or if they let us go into the next season. But one of the issues I did have with only having the 2 sets of objectives where you only have the domestic objectives is the fact that I can't use one of the others just to boost my manager rating to kind of survive. We had to do that in the past. I know it wasn't great, but if I hadn't signed 3 players from Asia and I'd underperformed in the league, I could go and sign 3 players then from Asia, just nobodies for any money, and it would boost my rating back up to a point where I would probably survive. But when you change these settings, you can't boost it. There is no boost. And we are on the middle setting. We are on strict. I get that, but it's the middle setting. Anyway, let's advance forward and just see if we get sacked or if they actually let us carry on. Okay, so even with a manager rating of 40, I still have a job. I will still be in charge of Leeds. So, although the rating looked really horrendous, we've kept our job. I think if this was on harsh, we probably would have been sacked. Makes sense. It's there to ultimately be a difficulty setting. But yeah, on strict, as long as we fulfill one of the objectives, we've kept our job. Now we're going to try this again, just because I kind of want to get a bit of a broader assessment. And now what I imagine has been the biggest issue is when you have all of them on to be judged upon and you do strict or harsh. I imagine it's pretty easy to get sacked in that scenario. So we are going to go lenient, but I want all the objectives in there. One, I want to see if the other objectives are just absolutely stupid like they've been in years gone by. But 2, I just kind of want to see like if we're going to be able to fudge it a little bit and judged a little bit less aggressively. I also want to know if we're on lenient and I do none of these objectives, if I can get sacked. Okay, so we're in the career mode here then. We've done Everton this time. Let's test the objectives. Let's see what they've got. Domestic is critical and it's finished mid-table, which, again, I don't think is ridiculous, but it's round of 16 of the FA Cup, again, for Everton. In that sense, we have low youth development, low brand exposure, and just regular financial, but it's sell 2 players and sign 3 important players to replace them. Finish the season without any unspent transfer budget. I don't actually think that is a terrible objective. I'm going to be honest with you. Move 2 players on to the old players, that the old guard, that it's not working, obviously, clearly at Everton. Bring in 3 players that are going to be considered important to the team to improve the squad. Use all the budget. Spend all the money. I don't mind that objective. That's actually a decent one. The brand exposure, idiotic, I guess, to a degree. North America's never a difficult one, but it should just never be sign 3 players. If anything, if it's anything about signing a player, just be 1 player. EA, come on, man. Just be 1 player. And then get 7 games without defeat in home matches this season is a little bit crazy, but it's a low objective, and we're on lenient. I'm going to do none of these, or at least not purposefully. We might do some of this, just depending how the team performs. But I'm going to sim to the end of the season, fulfilling none of the objectives, and see how I'm going to be judged when we're on lenient. I might try this back to back, the next one on harsh, but let's see where we're at the end of this year. Here we are then at the end of our season with Everton, and you can already see that we're not going to be judged quite as badly as we were at Leeds United when we went with just domestic. And obviously we were strict. This time we are lenient. And we did finish mid-table, though. And we did do the 7 games. So maybe if we hadn't have done that, we would have been in the red. But I also feel like after what we saw with the Leeds United sim, that we wouldn't have been sacked. Now, I want to run this back. I want to see what happens if we do it on harsh. Because we're seeing here on lenient, if you fulfill some objectives, because of course you're going to try and do the objectives if you're using them. If you fulfill some objectives, but others you can't quite fulfill, although the board might not exactly be high on you in that current moment in time, you're not going to get sacked. So the only difference this time around is harsh. That is literally the only change, is that we'll be judged harshly. It's mid-table again around the 16, so it's nice to see that objectives are being similar. Sign 1 player in your youth academy, assign 2 defenders, sign at least 2 players. Who cares about that one? Get a streak of 5. Okay, so we are on harsh now, but it's only it's a streak of 5 though. We'll have to win 5 back-to-back home games this year. Boys, that ain't happening. Sign 1 player, we're not going to do that. Obviously, we're going to not try and fulfill any of these and just see what happens. Within 2 seasons, this is medium. And financial obviously does actually make sense for Everton, considering where they are. But it's still probably a little bit frustrating that this is medium, considering like how FC just throws money at you, especially when you're in the Premier League. Within 2 seasons, increase your club's worth by 20% through player sales and competition prize money. What's the club's worth? Can I see what the club's worth is? 20% shouldn't be difficult with prize, like just doing it with prize money. If I go in here, does it tell me what the club's worth is? So I have initial budgets, prize money, so I can see the prize money that comes in, but I don't know what the club's worth is. Anyway, that's interesting. If you guys know how to figure out what the club's worth is, let me know. But we're going to advance now, because we might even do that one, fulfill that objective in competition prize money. Let's advance to the end of the season and see if this time around we keep our job, or if it was just the fact that we were on lenient. Well, as expected here, harsh means harsh. So we get sacked by Everton, which is exactly what I thought was going to happen. And I'm kind of happy it happened, because although I don't know what objectives we didn't fulfill the objectives and we got sacked. I'm pretty sure if you're playing on harsh, you're going to have to fulfill all the objectives to keep your job. So my thoughts after playing those 3 simulations and whether you should play with the objectives or not, I'm still undecided. I still think some of the objectives are ridiculous. I still didn't like what happened in the Leeds one where we just chose domestic, but the round of 16 thing is still there. That to me ultimately is just, that's probably the worst objective that's in this game. I always used to think it was to sign 3 players from whatever nation, but in reality, if we're being dead honest, it is that FA Cup objective. It is so stupid. But I will admit the fact that we didn't get sacked by Leeds United was a bit of a bonus, and I didn't mind having all the objectives on lenient. It means you can pick and choose which ones you want to do. You're probably still going to keep your job as long as you fulfill some of them. I think that's probably the way to go if you're going to use objectives. For me personally, unless you're doing a challenge career mode where you're going to put harsh objectives on and just try and force yourself to focus on the objectives, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make it as difficult as possible. I still would not touch objectives this year in the slightest. I genuinely think they're just bad. And until they get improved, I don't think there's any point having them in. You're better off turning off sacking and just creating your own objective. But that's going to be it for me in this video. I hope it helped you guys out. I hoped it was a little bit informative. I enjoyed it. I mean, the simulation takes a long time. So you guys should smash the like button on this one. For more videos on the channel, you know what to do. Smash subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you in the next video.